Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about family. Family is the start and the end of everything. So today I'm going to give you a little insight of my family. My family is from across the board, but we're stationed in Virginia. Um, my great grandfather is from Alabama, and he moved to Virginia and met my grandmother, well, my great great grandmother, and she was a Powhatan Indian, and she became one of many of the Indians who faded away over time. If you know anything about Powhatan, their culture and their legacy died. The last Powhatan was died in 1962, and he was the last. He was the chief actually, and there's no longer anyone left of that nation. So then there was my grandmother, and she had a total of 18 kids, and we had a mixture of different races in that. I have a total of 14 black aunts and uncles, and a total of 2 white aunts. And with that said, my family is born made of mixed races. Um, so after that, then there was my mom, who was born and raised in Virginia, and we was on the, I don't know if you know what was called the Mecklenburg Reservation, but that was the reservation that my family was born and raised on, and we was owned by Mr. Mecklenburg. And after Mr. Mecklenburg had passed, he passed us on to Mr. Pennington, and that's where we got our family name from, which is the Penningtons. And we became the Penningtons and stayed there roughly for the rest of our lives. My aunts and uncles, they never left out of Virginia. They stayed and made a name for us. And our legacy, we had a store, funeral homes, and churches, and a mixture of different things that came about there. And in my family culture, we made sure that each of us had jobs and everybody did their own work. At one point in time, everyone had to work at the store and had to work at the funeral home. It was an option to work at the church if you wanted to or not, because it was not that many jobs there to do that besides being a pastor or a deaconess or whatever, or a secretary. But everybody had to run through the church and the funeral home. So one point of time you learned how to embalm and cook at the same time. So that was one of the things that I learned pretty early on, was working at the funeral home and cooking. So my grandmother made sure I knew how to cook, and helping her sell fish and chicken dinners and chitlin dinners was one of the highlights of my going to school, getting off school, coming home, going straight in there, working every morning and every night. That was one of my jobs, open and close, and getting chicken eggs from the coop, making sure that they had fresh eggs every morning. Oh, and the milk. Oh my God, the cows. 5 a.m. call for cows, and yeah, that was the roughest time. Ah, Jesus. Thinking about that now, kids got it easy. Yeah, shoot. getting up every morning, making sure the cows, and if you didn't, they would move because they're in pain. So you had to make sure you milked them before you went to school and took them to the store. So that was fun and exciting, but hard. Ugh. And then as you got older, you had different jobs, like in the tobacco field, you had to make sure that all the worms was off of the leaves every evening. And then before you went to bed, you made sure that they was watered, plastered with water, and no leaf unwet. And the smell. It was a smell that you would never forget. And then that musty, wet leaf smelling tobacco. It's right before it becomes cured and right before it gets ripe, and you will know that smell. Yeah, a real musty odor smell. But then there's my siblings. I had 3 sisters and 1 brother. My oldest sister, we are exactly 51 years apart. And my youngest sister, we are 21 years apart. So I am technically the baby. And everybody else in my family is older than me, and I'm the youngest generation that is still left in my family. I have 3 kids. I have one that is in the criminal justice field. She actually took after me and wanted to go into the legal field like the rest of my family. She's the only one that's followed in my family's footsteps as far as the legal field wise. Then I have another one who wants to be a graphic designer. She's going to school for that. And I have one that is a model, and she's trying to be an upcoming model. She wants to be the next Tyra Banks, which, hey, I'm all for it. Supporting her in every aspect of her goals. So yeah, have 2 grandkids who they're so wonderful. They're bright, funny, caring, and spoiled, of course. So I have a funny story for y'all. So as I told you before, my family is in the legal background. We have lots of lawyers, lots of judges, and lots of people who work in the Pentagon and the White House. So I have an uncle who worked for the Pentagon, and my cousin, she was about to date this guy, and of course, you know, my uncle, he's like, okay, let me run him. So he ran him, and he was like, wait a minute. He's like, you got busted for a joint. He's like, you can't date my daughter. So she sit there, she's like, oh no, it was just when he was younger. He's like, I don't care whether it was young or not. So then he comes back and he says, well, you gotta see it. He's like, hold your hands out. So he's like, I gotta take a fingerprint. He's like, I'm fingerprinting you. He's like, I'm taking DNA. He's come back with all the kits and everything. He's like, I gotta make sure. He's like, you can't leave here with my daughter until I get everything. And I was like, oh my God, is this really happening? So then when he comes back, he's like, put it up there. He's like getting his fingerprints and his DNA. He's like, and then he comes back with this kit to draw blood, and then the boy passes out on the ground. And he says, what in the world is happening? He's like, you can't even give little bitty blood. He's like, I'm only taking a little bit. He's like, I'm a nurse too. And he's like, I can't take it. So he sits up and he's like, you going to actually take blood? He's like, yeah. And then he passes out again. He's like, well, you just can't go out with my daughter. He's like, he's like, you got to find you another girl because this is not going to work for us. Mm-hmm. So that was the gist of it. And then by the time it turned around, my cousin actually married this guy. So, and it was the funniest thing ever. So at the wedding, he had all his military buddies jump through the ceiling of the roof of the church. He was like, yeah, I told you he wasn't going to marry her. and they actually did get married, but it was funny because that was the way they brought their wedding in.
Mhm.
Family is important because family is the backbone of who you are. It is the foundation, it's the beginning, and it's the end. And it's where you come from, it's who you are, it's your makeup, it is everything that is the center core of who you are. It's your values, your morals, your beliefs, it's everything. Family can be your greatest asset and sometimes your greatest downfall too, you know, depending on the situation. But family is great because it's a unity that will be there no matter what. It's your rock, your foundation that has a meaning, and it leaves a legacy. It's what you leave behind. It's what you can grow. And family is important because it's the people who has your heart the most. Unfortunately, sometimes blood family doesn't support you. But then there's people that you meet along the way on your journey that becomes your family. And with that said, with them becoming your family, they become your rock, they become your family stability, they become the people who you call family. They might not be blood, but they might be the family that is there for you at that time. And you can always look at your friends and meet new people and bring them in, and they could be your rock, they could be your new legacy, and they could be your new journey. They are your family. Well, when I moved here, speaking on friends as family, I moved here and been here for about 16, 17, almost going on 18 years. I met a bunch of cool people along my way during my journey that they are my family. I have no family here, but they are the people that I consider family. I have a friend that, you know, she would do anything for me, and we've been friends ever since I've been here. You know, we started off rocky, you know, but we became the best of friends, and that is someone that I know that I could count on in the midst of any storm, because the bond that I had formed with her, and maybe it was because of that incident in the beginning, but you know, it made us strong, it made us who we are, and that foundation became a unit as a family. With being a family member is making sure that you're there for your family, but also setting good, healthy boundaries for yourself. Making sure that you are protected and have that separation and that core nurture, but also being there for your family. That don't mean that you gotta pick up the phone every time they call. That don't mean you have to run to their aid every time that something happened. But being there is letting them know that you're there to support them through whatever it is that they're going through. You might not like it, but you're there to support them, even if it's there from afar. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. And comment below and tell me something about yourself, because I am Dax and you are you.